All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about patterns. So let's start with our first pattern, which is starting at 0. We're going to add 3. And so our pattern is 0, 3, 6, 9, and 12. Our second pattern is we're going to start at 0 and we're going to add 6. So it's going to be 0, 6, 12, 18, and 24. So now let's put these two patterns into a table and we'll compare the two. So we have pattern A and pattern B, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Pattern B, 0, 6, 12, 18, and 24. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at and think about the relationship to each corresponding term. So 0 and 0, 3 and 6, 6 and 12, so on. So if it is in each term, in our B pattern, is it 2 times more than A, 2 more than A, 4 times more than A, or 4 more than A? Well, let's think. 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 9 times 2 is 18, so it looks like it's 2 times more. But let's see. Is 3 plus 2 6? No, so it can't be this. Is 3 times 4 6? No. Is 3 plus 4 6? No. So it has to be 2 times more. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our A and our B and we are going to make them into ordered pairs and graph them. So this is going to be 0 0, 3 6, 6 12, 9 18, and 12 24. Let's see what we get when we graph them. So something to remember is that when we have to graph at 0 0, that's a very specific vocab term, and it's really important to remember. That's called the origin of the coordinate plane. So 0 0 is our origin. Remember, this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis. And then also remember that when we are graphing, we go over and then up, right? We go along the x-axis and then we move along the y. So we go over 3, up 6, over 6, up 12, over 9, up 18, and then over 12, and then up 24. Okay? Now when I'm looking at this, it's not drawn to scale, so it's not as straight as it should be. But if we were then going to connect these lines, we would notice that this is kind of like an increasing line, starting from the origin. So I wonder what would happen. So this is when we have 2 adding rules. I wonder what would happen if we had 2 subtracting rules. Well, let's find out. So we're going to still have our starting and our rule and our pattern. So for this one though, our starting is going to be 16. Our rule is going to be subtract 4. So we're going to go 16, 12, 8, 4, and then 0. Our second one, we're going to start at 8 and we're going to subtract 2. So it's going to be 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. So let's do that same thing where we're kind of comparing the two. So we've got A and B. We've got 16, 12, 8, 4, 0, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 0. So what's happening when we go from A to B? When we go from 16 to 8, 12 to 6, 8 to 4, what's going on? Well, each time we're dividing by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and so on. So A divided by 2 is going to give us B. Okay? So now let's make our ordered pairs again. So we have 16, 8, 12, 6, 8, 4, 4, 2, and 0, 0. Again, I see that origin in there. So now let's plot these points again. So we've got over 16 and up 8. Over 12 and up 6, over 8 and up 4, over 4 and up 2, and then 0, 0. So when I look at this, it's not obviously the exact same line, but it's still an increasing line, right? An increasing diagonal line. So it looks kind of similar. Even when we do 2 subtraction rules, it's still making that increasing line. Well, now let's see what happens if we maybe have an adding and a subtraction rule. Let's see what happens then. So if I have, let's use two that we've already done before. So we've got add 3, we'll use our add 3 pattern and our subtract 4 pattern. So 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 16, 12, 8, 4, 0. So let's now do this one. So we make our ordered pairs. 0, 16, 3, 12, 6, 8, 9, 4, 12, 12, 0. All right, so now let's graph all these and see if it looks any different than our original 2. So go over 0, up 16, over 3, up 12, over 6, up 8, over 9, up 4, over, up 4, over 12, up 0. So now when I connect these, we can see that it does look different. So when we kind of have an adding and a subtraction rule, now we get that downward line, okay? What's important to note about this is that there are patterns everywhere. There are patterns when we're looking at different rules. There are patterns when we're even graphing coordinates on the coordinate plane. So that's just important to remember that there's always going to be different patterns. So now let's start looking at, we're gonna look at comparing patterns, okay? And we're gonna do just a couple problems with figuring out, okay, when we're going from one to the other, what's happening. So if we have pattern A, pattern B, and we go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. What is happening? So it's important to remember how we describe things are very important. So when we're reading these problems, we need to read it more than one time. So this question is first going to say, what do we do to A to get B? So what are we doing to A to get B? So when we go from 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 9 to 18, 12 to 24, 15 to 30, we're multiplying by 2. So A times 2 is going to give us our B. What if I switch that though and I said, what do we do to B to get A? So we're going from 6 to 3, 12 to 6, 18 to 9, 24 to 12, 30 to 15. Now we're dividing by 2. So it's important to really read the question and ask yourself, what is this really asking me? Because it's very easy to make a small mistake with either saying multiplying by 2 or dividing by 2 if we're not reading the question properly, okay? So let's do a different one. So I'm gonna keep these questions, but now I'm gonna change the A and B. So A, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. First one, what do we do to A to get B? 4 to 20, 8 to 40, 12 to 60, and so on. We multiply A by 5. Oop. Okay, same thing, but now different. What do we do to B to get A? So now we're doing the opposite. We're going 20 to 4, 40 to 8, 60 to 12. So now it's the opposite. So it's B divided by 5 is going to give us A. Okay, again, just make sure you're careful in terms of what really is the question asking. Okay, now we're going to do something kind of similar, but you're going to be given some different statements and we have to decide whether it's true or false. So we've got 1, 6, 11, 16, 21, 4, 24, 44, 64, and 84. Okay? So first statement, A is 4 times B. B is 4 times A. A is 4 more than B. B is 4 more than A. So when we look at just the A and B patterns so far, 1 to 4, 6 to 24, 11 to 44, we can already say which a couple that are false, because we know that we're not adding for any of these to get them, so we know that these are already false. But now let's look at the first two. So this says A is 4 times B. So that means whatever A is, it's going to be 4 times B. So for this, it would be 4 times 4 gives us 1. Well, that isn't right. 4 times 24 to give us 6. That's not right either. So this is not correct. Let's look at this one. B is 4 times A. So here's B. B, 4, so 4 is 4 times 1. That's right. 6 times 4 should give us B. Yep. And so on. So this one is true. Again, it really, you got to read it more than once and actually think about what it's asking. Because this was saying that A is going to give us whatever 4 times B is. But that wasn't right, because any of these times 4 would have been a lot larger. So we had to actually look at then the next one. Okay, so just be careful. Let's do one more question. Very similar. So we've got 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So first one, pattern A is add 6. Pattern B is add 3. Divide A by 3 to get B. Multiply B by 2 to get A. All right, so let's go one by one. So the first one says pattern A is add 6. Well, let's just look at pattern A. Go 0, 6, 12, 18, 24. Is it adding 6 each time? Yes, so this is true. What about for the next one? Pattern B is add 3. Well, let's look at pattern B. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Nope, it's going up by 2, so that's false. What about this one? Divide A by 3 to get B. We're going to skip 0. 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. 12 divided by 3 gives us 4, so this is true. Last one, multiply B by 2 to get A. 2 times 2 is not 6. 4 times 2 is not 12, so the last one's false. So again, just remember, these just need to be important for you to reread it more than once. Really ask yourself, what is it asking me? But these lessons should not be too difficult for you, so good luck. If you need me, please email me. I would love to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.